Welcome to Reddit Aliens. Today I crap myself on the way to work. What's the most horrific thing you have ever done in public? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Today I overslept, waking up in a rush, dressed, and ran out to catch the bus. Entering the bus, I feel a weird, cold feeling in my stomach. When the bus enters the station, I need to take a crap so hard, and I'm sweating like a pig. Running into a cafe asking for a toilet, the owners direct me to a public toilet in the square. When I have 5 meters left, the pain is too horrific and my body gives up, and boom goes the dynamite. Half crapped my pants opening the door to the toilet, and guess what? It was a urinal. I lean against it and let my body breathe. It was the biggest crap I've taken in my life. Looked like a cow had been there when I was finished, feeling bad for the cleaners. Then I went out to find a McDonald's, and there I took my undies off, threw them in the trash, wiped, called in sick at work, and took a cab home. I am 22 years old and can't even remember soiling myself as a kid. I had just got my first job and wanted to eat there with a friend. We walked 1.5 miles and both ate this breaded hot dog covered in melted cheese monstrosity before heading back home. Almost back home, and my friend is urging me to walk faster because he's going to shit himself, and out of nowhere I start barfing. It's a busy intersection, and I'm compelled to keep pace with my friend who's moving faster and faster toward my house. I threw up 5 times in under a minute at a mild jog, with people gasping in their cars as they watch me. He's grabbing his ass as he runs. I'm 20 feet behind, ralphing everywhere. It would have been weird to see. I was at the mall when I was 12 years old eating KFC as kids like to do. For some reason, that was the day I decided to try eating a 3-piece meal with all the sides. It turns out that I couldn't handle that much food at the time, and after a while, I could feel the vomit train making its way to my mouth. In my mad dash for the bathroom, I was stopped by mall security for running and endangering others. I was only able to get a few tearful words before the toxic sludge that was 1/2 original recipe, 1/2 macaroni salad came spewing out like a broken fire hydrant all over the guard's shoes. Didn't happen to me, but back when I was in play school, the only thing I remember was sitting beside this girl during story time. She raised her hand to go to the washroom as she said she wasn't feeling well. The teacher said wait till after the story. She responded by barfing all over herself and kept eye contact with the teacher the entire time. Even at 4 years old, I thought it was hilarious and just about died laughing. Of all of these stories today, this is the one I laughed at the most after I read it. Still funny. When I was like 7, I sneezed in church and it made me fart at the same time, and it was during a silent prayer part and everyone in that damn church started laughing. Obviously, at the ripe old age of 18, I'm still scarred. I shat myself one cold winter's evening on my way to a nightclub. My best mate and I were walking down to the club, which is about 1.5 miles away from where we lived. It was a pretty cold and frosty evening. As we got close, I figured there'd be a bit of a queue and it'd be worthwhile nipping into a dark corner and having a piss. I duck into an alleyway and start to piss. Out of nowhere, and with no warning, I just eject a stream of hot liquid shit all down the back of my legs. I was wearing beige khaki combats, and I'm fairly sure I was steaming gently. There's basically F all I can do now. I'm as far from my house as I was going to get that evening. I just walk out, tell my mate I've got to go home, and proceed to waddle the 1.5 miles home, trying to stay far enough away from people that they won't notice the brown streak, smell, or steam. I actually ended up getting home, cleaning myself up and having a bath, got changed and went back out, but I couldn't really salvage the evening. I once bought new pants and they were a bit too long, but I thought they were great, so I wore them anyway. Went to school, tripped on the bottom of my pants, fall up the stairs, and being so scared that I fell, I shit myself. I was 16 and had to tell the secretary why I was going home. Could not have been worse. This next story can show you how to make 50 minutes probably feel like 50 years. I wonder if they got married. I asked a girl from school out once. We had taken the train into the city and were hanging out with friends in the park. felt a huge fart brewing, so being on my best behavior, I unobtrusively moved away from the group to let it rip. Did that bit where you clench your teeth and screw your eyes up as you get ready to let loose something major, and away I went. Except I was horrified to hear no sound at all, and instead just felt buckets of wet warmth inside my jeans. After a few panic-stricken seconds frozen to the spot, during which I had time to stress to myself very forcefully that this was an extremely bad situation, I snuck off to the toilets, used rolls and rolls of toilet paper trying to clean up, but there was absolutely no salvaging the situation. Went back to the group in a somewhat chastened mood and announced, while keeping my distance, that I wasn't feeling good and would get the train home. Now, just at the point where I thought it would be impossible for the day to get any worse, the girl I had asked out got up and said she was tired too, and that she would be coming back on the train with me. It was a 50-minute trip in a crowded carriage. Oh man. When I was 18, I'm 19 now, so still horribly scarred. I gave an impromptu speech to my two best friends at their graduation party in front of about 50 people. I stood up and started speaking, but stopped when my cheeks started spazzing out. I mean, violently shaking up and down to the point where people who weren't even that close could see. It made my nerves even worse, and I kept saying embarrassing things like, "Oh my God, why are my cheeks shaking?" as people laughed around me. I couldn't even really continue because they were spazzing so hard I couldn't talk. My friend's dad walked up to me and jokingly started massaging my cheeks, took the mic from me and told me to finish sitting down, which I somehow managed to do. Pretty much ruined my already very non-existent self-confidence when it comes to public speaking. This is by far my greatest fear. I came so close to this being a reality only 2 years ago. I had just started a new job and was sent to New York City to meet with some of our important clients. We took them out to a certain Michelin 3-star for dinner. Everything was going well. We ate well, we drank well, and when we wrapped up, we all piled into a cab to head back to our hotel. As we snaked our way through New York City traffic in a cab, I could feel a rumble in the jungle, a hot pain in my gut. I started to sweat. I clenched. Oh God, did I clench. The worst part? I was in the middle seat. We were only about 4 blocks from our hotel, and I just let out a yell, "Stop!" The cab driver slams on the brakes, and I jump over my female coworker. How I avoided shitting my pants by doing this, I have no idea. I then ran down the street to the first open door I could find. Inside, there were a bunch of dudes renovating a restaurant. I asked if I could use the men's room. This one guy started to say no, but then his face kinda just went neutral, and he saw the desperation in my eyes. He said, "Go." And I ran into the men's room and released the most violent shit of my life. That was not a banner day for me, and ever since then, I have been horrifically afraid of shitting my pants. This one time, I had to shit so bad that my balls were hurting from having to clench my butt cheek so hard. I was in the mall and couldn't remember where the bathrooms were, so I went from one end to the other trying to find somewhere to shit. I finally find one right as the turd is poking out, and as soon as I pull down my pants, it rockets out, solid turd, and sits on the edge of the seat like a soggy cigar dangling its feet on the beaches of Shitsville's coast. I didn't know what to do, so I just wiped, ran out, and hoped the janitor wasn't too angry. I was in a shopping center with my mom when I was about 11 or 12 and had just ate a huge fry in a cafe. Suddenly, I felt a little bit sick. I'd eaten far too much and knew I was going to get sick, but thought I could hold it until I reached the bathroom. To our horror, the toilets in the cafe were both out of order for maintenance, and the closest one was up an escalator on the first floor directly above our heads. I ran to the escalator, my mother in tow, and proceeded to climb slowly towards my destination. As you may have guessed by now, I didn't make it. I ended up throwing up, a lot, all over an innocent old lady's back and hair in front of a crowd of perhaps 100 to 150 bystanders. She turned around and offered me a plastic bag and asked if I was okay, as if nothing at all had happened. I left my mom to do the talking while I continued to vomit into the bag. This is the most horrific thing I've done in public. One time I was pretty effing drunk and decided to walk home from a party. I was walking down the streets in this residential neighborhood probably about 11 p.m. wearing all black when I realized that I have to piss and I'm not going to make it home. However, I was on probation at the time and I knew a couple guys who had been written up for pissing in public in my town. Too drunk to think straight, too scared to piss on the street, I ended up pissing my pants. Once it started, I was like, well, F it, there's piss all in my pants now, so I just continued to piss my pants while walking. With the darkness and my black clothes, it was pretty much impossible to tell, but my pants were pretty well soaked through with piss by the time I got home. And let me tell you, walking down the street while freely pissing all over yourself, there's nothing quite like it. A unique mixture of shame, embarrassment, and empowerment. Like, what the F are you gonna do now, world? I'm pissing in my pants, and there isn't shit you can do about it. You got nothing left to hurt me now. I walked straight into the garage and threw the pants in the trash, then stumbled into the shower, washed myself off, and fell into bed naked. When I woke up the next morning, I realized that my socks and shoes were also reeked of piss, so I threw those out too. Not my proudest moment. And this last story shows how far someone will go for a good tip. I hope it was worth it. I'm a bartender at a members-only bar and banquet hall on my campus, so it's mostly professors and local CEOs that hold their banquets and various meetings there. These people usually are friendly, but never really overtly talkative to the bartenders like at some places. Anyway, the club was hosting a very nice, expensive banquet for one of the large businesses in the city, and the CEO turned up, which was kind of a big deal. Throughout the evening, I had been chugging water because I was bartending and serving, so I was running around a lot and sweating my ass off. Naturally, about an hour later, I had to pee like Seabiscuit after a race. It was at this time that the big deal CEO comes over to the bar, orders a drink, and begins pouring his life story out to me. Not wanting to be rude / also wanting a nice tip, I was talking back to him and asking about his family, work, yada yada. The entire time I had my legs clamped tightly shut and was doing a major potty dance, trying everything. It didn't work. My bladder completely let loose and I began peeing all over the bar floor. The CEO gave me a strange look and asked if I had a faucet on. I laughed hysterically and grabbed the soda gun and started aiming it at the ground with the soda water to make it look like I was cleaning the floor. We continued talking about his daughter's college career as I stood with piss-soaked pants. TL, DR, I peed my pants in front of the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.